Peace. What's happening, good people? This gift here for Pay Us No Mind. And let's talk about Spotify charging artists. Now, it's being speculated that starting in 2024, Spotify will start charging artists the monetary equivalent of 1,000 streams in order to be eligible for monetization on their platform. Now, 1,000 streams pays artists currently about $4. So every artist will have to pay the first $4 earned by every track they upload to Spotify in order to qualify for monetization. Now, it is alleged, and I say alleged because there hasn't been any official word from Spotify, but it's alleged that artists will have to generate at least 1,000 streams per track in the past 12 months in order to qualify for monetization. So, if you have a song that generates 999 streams this year, next year, the clock resets. You start over at 0 and have to generate a whole other 1,000 streams in order to qualify. So, unlike AT&T, these minutes don't roll over. So, an artist with 20 songs that generates 999 streams each would generate about 19,000 streams annually. And they would be charged $60 annually for having their music on Spotify in the form of 100% of their royalties. Now, some people are calling it a monetization threshold. Some people are calling it demonetization. And I think all of those definitions are kind of somewhat inaccurate. Mainly the demonetization thing, because they're not demonetizing the music. And when it comes to a monetization threshold, if you think about YouTube, for example, YouTube has a monetization threshold, but the music that doesn't meet the threshold is demonetized. So that's the big difference there. It's demonetized, meaning that if a YouTube user or a YouTube creator isn't in the monetization threshold, when you watch their videos, you won't be served an ad. And that's the same with Facebook and all of the other platforms that impose a monetization threshold. The content that doesn't meet the threshold is demonetized. Spotify isn't demonetizing the music. They're monetizing it. So if you go stream my old album, which does not qualify for monetization under this current system, if you stream that 16-song album, you get ads sandwiched in between those songs. If you went to play it on demand, you would be required to upgrade to a paid subscription in order to do so. If you have a paid subscription, you would be able to download it for offline playback. So Spotify is leveraging my music to upstream users to paying for the service and monetizing it with ads. They just don't want to pay me for it. So what Spotify is doing is really like those old talent showcases that give you 10 tickets that you got to sell for $10 in order to perform. And it's really just a back-end way of charging you $100 to perform. That's effectively what they're doing here. They're just saying, okay, well, instead of 10 tickets, it's 1,000 streams. You got to get 1,000 streams, and however much you generate from 1,000 streams is what you got to pay in order to monetize your music on Spotify. And that is entirely different from what YouTube and Facebook does. Now, Spotify makes its money by charging users for ownership level access to music, period. All of the music on the platform. That's the value proposition. Pay us $10 a month and you get unlimited access to our entire music library. You can stream it on demand. You can download it for offline playback. You don't have to be worried about ads or anything like that interrupting your listening session. That's what you're being charged for with Spotify. Now, demonetizing tracks will undermine that because they would create a library of music that people could listen to uninterrupted by ads, stream on demand whenever they want, and download for offline playback without having to upgrade to a paid subscription. So they wouldn't be generating ad revenue off of those artists and their music, and they wouldn't be upstreaming users to a paid subscription using those artists. Now, at the same time, the duality of that is if those artists are a part of the system of getting people to pay for the service and generating revenue for the service, then they deserve to be compensated for their contribution. You can't say that they don't add any value to the platform and then choose to not demonetize their music because of the value that they add to the platform. Understand, every time a Spotify user cannot find a song on Spotify, that is justification to not pay for a paid subscription. So it's not about whether they can find Taylor Swift's music. They are paying for unlimited access to music. So it doesn't make sense to pay to access an unlimited library of music if the library of music is limited. Demonetizing music or having an actual monetization threshold would take money out of the revenue pool, which would be counterproductive to why they're doing this in the first place. So this is why I say it's not demonetization and it's not really quite a monetization threshold. It is a charge. They're charging artists to have their music on the platform. And they're charging all artists, not just artists under the threshold. Every artist will have to pay the first $4 earned by every song they upload to Spotify. It's just that the artists that cross the threshold of 1,000 streams will get that money back, and the artists that don't cross the threshold won't. They'll just lose it all. So the revenue your music generates goes to pay for it to occupy space on Spotify. If a song gets 1,001 streams, 1,000 goes to paying the fee, and they get paid for the one stream that went over the threshold. And here's the problem. Under the current system streaming platforms have, the more artists releasing music and generating streams, the less every artist will make. Inevitably, artists will get to a point where they're paid so little, they see no point in having their music on Spotify. Now, Spotify can't force people to pay to subscribe, and they can't raise the price of Spotify high enough to compensate for the amount of artists and releases coming onto the platform. And they can't force advertisers to spend more money. At the same time, all of the artists uploading music to Spotify want more money. So, more artists releasing music drives the royalties of all artists down. What Spotify has done is turned artists and their releases into a revenue source. The more music artists release to Spotify, provided that music fails to qualify for payment, the more money Spotify and all qualifying artists make. So the same way that digital distributors charge artists to get their music on streaming platforms, they're making money off of artists wanting their music on Spotify. And Spotify has to pay those artists because the music is on Spotify. So they looked at it and they said, well, if artists are willing to pay for their music to be on the platform, why don't they pay us? But they're not allowing artists to upload the music directly where the artist can just pay them for it to be there. The artists still have to go through a digital distributor. So now it's double paying. Now you got to pay a digital distributor, and then after you pay the digital distributor, you have to pay Spotify. And with this being something that is being enforced by major labels across the board, across all streaming platforms, and possibly, social media networks as well, you're gonna end up having to pay that fee not only on Spotify, but on Deezer, Tidal, Apple Music, TikTok. Everywhere, you'll effectively be paying a fee, but not like out of pocket through a number of streams that have to be generated before you can start to earn money. Now, I know an artist with 75 songs on Spotify. If each of those songs generates 999 streams, that is over 75,000 streams annually, equaling about $224 a year, and he would be paid $0. That $224 would go to paying a fee for his music to exist on a platform, a fee that would get pooled and split between Spotify and all qualifying artists on the platform. So effectively, he would be used to subsidize paying other artists on Spotify, which is unfair. You know, Spotify is looking for how they can make more money. Again, they can't force people to subscribe. They can't force advertisers to pay more. So it's like, well, where can we make more money, right? Oh, God forbid they take money from themselves, right? And reduce the 30% of royalties that they collect to 20 in order to compensate for the artists that aren't making enough and allow artists to make more that way. Oh no, they're not going to do that. They say, let's take from the bottom and give to the top. That's a better solution. Now, one of the core issues is why this is being done. You know, this is not quality control because the music is still on Spotify. All of the music is still there to be discovered and streamed, and all of that good stuff is still there. They're not removing the music. They're not requiring people to submit an application where somebody will listen to the music and decide whether it's worthy to be on Spotify. The music is still going to be there. Anybody can upload music to Spotify. So this is not quality control. This is not about bots or stream farms or anything like that, because these are artists that are generating streams legitimately. This is why their stream count is so low, because they're trying to get the streams organically. So it's not about any of that stuff. The only reason this is being done is to allow a particular segment of rights holders on the platform to make more money. That's it. We got Group A, indie artists, that don't generate what we feel like is a lot of value for the platform, because if they take their music off of the platform, we wouldn't really suffer like that. And we have Group B, who are demanding way more money, who, if they take their music off of the platform, we arguably don't have a platform. So we need people in Group B to be able to make more money. And we're taking from artists in Group A in order to subsidize the artists in Group B so they keep their music on the platform and the platform continues to exist. That's what they're doing. Now, that is a dangerous precedent because of the fact that this could just be a starting point, because inevitably 1,000 streams won't be enough. You got like 100,000 songs being uploaded to Spotify per day. A huge chunk of those songs are going to meet that 1,000 stream threshold. So at some point, this 1,000 stream threshold will not earn enough revenue for the artists at the top to be satisfied. And they're going to have to raise it. And it could go up to 10,000, 100,000, because it has to keep rising in order for the artists at the top to continue to make the most money. So this isn't an end point. It's not like, okay, 1,000 streams and that's it, the end, everybody go home. No. This is just the start. This is just going to keep going. Now, let's get into the spin cycle, where people throw out statements in order to try to manipulate public discourse by making people think one way or the other. Starting with a statement made by Kristen Graziani, the president of the digital distribution company STEM, came out in support of this system, saying that it won't impact quote unquote real artists. Now, this is a tactic used by dictators to dehumanize a particular group in order to justify their abuse or extinction. So a dictator might call a group cockroaches or subhuman, anything but human, to not allow people to really feel guilty about what's happening to them. Great company to keep. Stay classy, STEM. The other thing you'll hear a lot about is, but YouTube has a monetization threshold. And that is the equivalent of saying, but you let Timmy bone, why not me? Where they're saying you should let them do it because you let somebody else do it. Well, YouTube doesn't monetize the music below the threshold. They don't run ads on it. You don't need a subscription to stream it on demand. You don't get paid because there is no money to be paid. YouTube doesn't make money, and neither do you. Nobody makes money. That is YouTube's mode of operation. The monetization, if you don't meet the monetization threshold, your content does not get monetized. They're not monetizing your content and taking the money. That's what Spotify wants to do. They want to monetize the content and just take the money. Another thing you'll hear is digital distributors have payment thresholds. They take artists' money and they hold it and earn interest on it in their bank accounts, which isn't false, but at the same time, those digital distributors hold the money, and when you reach the threshold, they release it to you. Spotify is not talking about holding the money and releasing it to you when you reach the threshold. They're talking about keeping it. So you generate 1,000 streams and you get paid $0 with Spotify. A digital distributor has a payment threshold where you get 1,000 streams and then you get paid what you earn for those 1,000 streams. It is a completely different thing where you got one person saying, hey, I'm going to take whatever you make up to this amount, and somebody else saying, I'm going to hold whatever you make up to this amount and then give it to you. So those are the things you are going to hear in the spin cycle. Now, you can agree to disagree or agree. Y'all know the drill. Feel free to comment, like, share. Y'all know the drill. This is Gift signing off. Pay us no mind. Peace, good people. 1.